Hey, Shalom, Israel, Shalom. Um, we're still talking about Jacob's trouble, and we told you before that Jacob's trouble started in 70 AD, and we went back to Christ's words to confirm that. But we also told you that Jacob's trouble is not going to end until Christ returns. So we're going to start off tonight in Daniel chapter 7, but tonight's class is going to really focus on integration and what it has done to us. See, we want to say that integration started in the 60s, the 1960s. That's not true, and we're going to prove that tonight. See, that has always been a plan of the enemy, and we're going to show you that, and we're going to show you how they use integration to confuse us and to defeat us from within. Okay? So, that being said, let's go to Daniel chapter 7. Let me share my screen. Let me see. Man, I still have a lot of stuff on here. Okay. All right, we're going to share it this way. And it did not share, I don't think. I think we're sharing. I have a 7-second delay on my other screen. Let me see if it comes up. Okay, go. Okay, we're good. We're good. All right, so I want to go to Daniel 7 and 8. And it reads like this: I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. I want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shah. Now, we've explained this verse before, and this dealing with Rome, and Rome had 10 horns. Well, there was another little horn that came up, and he plucked three of the horns up by the root. And we told you that was Great Britain in the Revolutionary War. We told you it was France in the French and Indian War. And we told you it was Spain in the Spanish American War. Okay. And in the Spanish American War, that's when we got all the islands and things like that. All right. So, not going to go back over that tonight. We have six previous episodes of Jacob's Trouble. And you can go in there and find all that information. We have a lot of information going over tonight. And I really gave too much information, put too much information. So, we're going to see what we can get to. Um, then it goes on in verse 9 says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down. This is Daniel speaking. So the thrones were cast down in his vision. And the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool, just like it says in Revelation. See, our God, he's a man of color. He's what they would call today a black man. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. So he saw him what we call a chariot. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. Let's get where it gets interesting now. Okay. I want to show you a video real quick because we have told you that the Roman Empire got destroyed. The Romans were locked up in the Caucasus Mountains for 1,000 years. They came back with the help of the church. Okay. When I say church, it was first the Catholic Church, and then it went on to be all of the churches. That's how they controlled us. Okay. They twisted the scriptures, they removed books of the Bible, they removed passages of the Bible, and they gave us, I should have showed that. I have a copy of it. They gave us what they call the slave Bible, okay? I'll try to remember to bring that in next episode. Okay, so I want to go now and show you this video. In this video, I know y'all have heard of Charlie Kirk. One of Trump's cabinet members spoke there, and his name is Stephen Miller. So let me go back and bring this up, and I want to show you he actually confessed to everything that we've been telling you. We told you that these people, these Americans that are in charge, they actually were the Greeks, they were the Romans, and they came from the mountains. And he's going to tell all of this in this speech, and it's going to be in the first couple of minutes. Okay, let me get back to StreamYard. See if I can get a full vision of everything for you. Let me see. We want to go to Stephen Miller, share. All right, let's see if we can do this real quick. Okay, we're going to start at on the 31st second of this video.
And our enemies cannot comprehend our strength, our determination, our resolve, our passion. Our lineage and our legacy hails back to Athens, to Rome, to Philadelphia, to Monticello. Our ancestors built the cities. They produced the art and architecture. They built the industry. Erica stands on the shoulders of thousands of years of warriors, of women who raised up families, raised up city, raised up industry, raised up civilization, who pulled us out of the caves and the darkness into the light.
Okay, that's what I wanted you to get. Okay, so he said that they started in Athens, which is Greece, is what we showed you from the very beginning. The first Edomites, they were Macedonians who took over Greece and started calling themselves the Greeks, okay? And then later on, they became the Romans. But we told you that they had come from the Caucasus Mountains. But before then, they came from Mount Seir. And he told you that they came from the caves. See, he said, our lineage is. And this is the Trump administration. See, we didn't make any of this up. And now, as it says in Psalms, their tongues are falling down on them, which means that they are actually confessing the things that are true. All right? So that being the case, I want to get you some more stuff. Let's stop the screen sharing on that. We're going to go now to Revelation 16. All right, so let's get back down there. All right, Revelation chapter 16. We're going to go to verse 13. And we're going to get to the point where we're going to actually be talking about integration. But I need to remind you who these people are. And then we're going to talk about integration. Because the same people, you know, on the book of Ecclesiastes says there's nothing new under the sun. They've been doing the same stuff. And we're going to show you that a lot of the catalyst for this, them coming to America, well, y'all know it was Spain. Christopher Columbus was the first of the Spanish to come over here. And he didn't actually make it to the mainland. He made it to the islands, but he took slaves when he left. Okay. And we showed you that that came as a result of the Catholic Church actually saying that they can do that. See, the church was involved in all of it. So let's go ahead and read. Revelation 16, verse 13. It says, and I saw three unclean spirits. You see that? Three. Keep that number in mind because I'm about to show you something. It says, and I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon. What do frogs do? They leap. They land on stuff. A lot of them are sticky and they stick to it, okay? So three unclean spirits like frogs came out of the mouth of the dragon. What did we show you the dragon was? The dragon is actually Rome, okay? Let me pull that up real quick if I can. I wonder, can y'all see this yet? I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and finish these verses and I'll show that to you. So let's read that again. Revelation 16 and 13. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon and out of the mouth of the beast. We've been reading about the beast. There were four beasts, the last one being Rome. And Rome came back as 10 kingdoms. And then after that, Rome came back as one little horn. Okay? But those 10 kingdoms ruled by giving their power to one. That one was the church. Okay? So let's read that again. Revelation 16:13. I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. Who? Those are your pastors. That's the Pope. Those are your bishops. You see what I'm saying? We know the beast. Those are the nations that have ruled over us. Okay? The beast is a whole system, but right now the beast is America. And we're showing you that tonight. Okay? And we know the dragon is when Rome took over and set the church in place. And we told you Constantine was the one that adopted Catholicism. He could adopted Christianity, okay? And he was the first of the Byzantine kings. All right, so let's see who these three unclean spirits are. Verse 14. For they are the spirits of devils. What are the three unclean spirits? For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. See, their work that they've been doing all the way since Rome began, they know because they read this book that their end is total destruction. So they're trying to gather the whole world together to help them in this fight. All right. Um, So I think I talked to you already about Spain led the way of coming to the Americas. So let me show you something about that real quick before we get on into segregation and integration. I want to look at something. I want to show you this. Now, this is, if you look up the medieval three-part Earth, what you're going to find is what they call a T and O map. Now, this T and O map, if you look at it, I'm going to look at this image down here. It's easier to see than this one here. But you see the T in the middle here. Now, the Europeans, all of the other nations outside of us, only knew of three continents, three major continents. They knew of Asia, they knew of Europe, and they knew of Africa. All right. So, in the middle of that, on a lot of these medieval three-part maps, you will see Jerusalem sitting right in the center. Okay. And some of them don't do that, but it's understood. Okay. So, what we have, I think this one says Jerusalem, right? If you look right above this cursor, it does say Jerusalem right there. Oh, let me stop sharing. Sorry, I wasn't sharing my screen. Let me get back and share this for you. Good thing Maria walked in here and told me. All right, we're going to share the screen again. And we're going to go to medieval three-part map, three-part Earth. All right, here we go, here we go, here we go. For some reason, it doesn't show in red. I usually have a red out border when I'm sharing. So hopefully someone here in the house will come let me know if I'm not. All right, but anyway, we're back to it again. So this is, you see it says T and O map. And the reason for the T, if you look in the middle here, it looks like a T. And if I go up to this one here, follow my cursor, it looks like a T. Okay. This is an actual picture of one from medieval times. But we're going to use this one over here where they kind of cleaned it up for us. So what I was telling you, if you look on the top right here, it says Asia. To the left bottom, it says Europe. And to the right bottom, it says Africa. Okay. Now, if you look just above my cursor, it says Jerusalem. Okay. So what happened was they believed this is what the populated Earth was. Okay. They didn't know anything about the Americas. If you remember when they discovered the Americas, they called it the New World. All right. So I want to take you to Revelation and show you something real quick. We're going to go to fourth part of Earth. We're going to go to Revelation chapter 6, verse 8. Okay. So let me remember that three-part Earth. This is very necessary for this part of the lesson. And I'm just laying a foundation before we get into the crux of what we want to talk about. share screen. All right, all right. Let's do it. Let's do it. Revelation chapter 6. Going to go down to verse 8. Watch this. It says, "And I looked, and behold, a pale horse." Keep that color in mind. A pale horse. This is a vision that John the Revelator is having. And his name that sat on him was Death. So there's a rider, and that rider's name is Death, okay? And hell followed with him, okay? Now, notice hell is capitalized. So we're talking about two individuals, right? It says, "And power was given unto them," two individuals, "over the fourth part of the earth." Well, I just showed you during that time that the Roman Empire only knew about three parts of the earth, but John the Revelator is talking about a fourth part of the earth. And what was they were giving? They were given. I'm sorry, not giving. They were given, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. So death and hell was given power over the fourth part of the earth. And so we got to show you who was there. And we're going to do that in a second. We're going to go to Second Ezra, chapter 13. But death and hell was given power over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword. Now remember, Esau was given the sword as a blessing, okay? And with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. So if we have time, we're going to get to the major beasts that they used, okay? But I mean, these people, they were tying us to horses and ripping us apart. They were cutting our ladies' bellies open if they did not worship the image of the beast. If they were pregnant, and letting the babies drop to the ground and the dogs eat them. They were taking rodents and putting inside of our women to scratch the babies out. And this is what they did to make you worship this white Jesus. Okay? And that's why it says, "and with death and with the beasts of the earth." But they used that pig too. Oh, they used that swine. That swine did more death to us. And I want to get to that tonight. I want to show you how they used them, okay? So let's go now to Second Ezra, chapter 13. You know what? Do I have time to do that? Okay, look at last week's episode and you'll get that, okay? We talked about that in last week's episode. Let's go to John 10 and 10. I don't want to run out of time. If we have time, someone remind me in the chat, then I'll go back to that, okay? I think we're still sharing our screen. Let's see if we can get it back up. All right, so let's go to John 10 and 10. We just showed you about the enemy. Let's see what Christ has to say about him. It says, John chapter 10, verse 10, "The thief cometh not, but for to steal." Now, that not doesn't mean that's not what he comes for. It's saying that he has no other reason to come but these things listed. "The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy." Do you see that? "I am come." Now, Christ gives you the reason that he comes, "that they might have life." Who is the they? The Israelites. "And that they might have it more abundantly." So we got to stop living beneath what we were called to be. See, we are a royal priesthood, a chosen generation. And it says we were called out of darkness into the marvelous light. I think that's First Peter chapter 2. And so we have to start living up to that. But we're going to have to keep the commandments to get there. Okay? You got to ignore what the church has told you, and that we're no longer under the commandments. Yeah, we're under the law, but we keep that law through the Spirit of the Most High. You see what I'm saying? So, what I want to show you now is where this stuff. So, I think we've laid the foundation now that of this enemy coming over, and what he's doing to us. And we're going to go ahead now to Second Ezra. Just for those who were not with us last week, catch episode 6 if you were not here last week, and we go into more detail on this. Let me see here. Let me share my screen again. Now, for y'all, those of y'all who don't know, Second Ezra is one of the books of the Apocrypha. This is one of the ways that the church deceived us. They removed 14 books. See, when the Bible was translated into English, authorized by King James, there were 80 books. 14 of them were removed during the time of slavery here in the Americas, okay? So we have those books. We use them. They are canon, and we've learned a lot from them. So we're going to go to Second Ezra. And Ezra is just a Greek way of saying Ezra. He's the same one who wrote Ezra in the 66 books, okay? We're going to go to chapter 13. We're just going to breeze through this. We're not going to break it down a whole lot, okay? We're going to verse 40. That's where we're going to start. I did the same thing last week. It's not Second Ezra. Don't worry about it. I'll find it real quick. Let me see. Arsareth. Take me but a second. I thought that's how it's spelled. Okay, well, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. You're going to have to look at episode 6 and get the information. But basically, it shows that the Israelites were the first ones to occupy the Americas, okay? I got to think of where that verse is. Thought it for sure it was. Well, we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. Let's go to now. Got something. Let me share the screen. We're going to show you something about Alexander the Great. Now, we're getting ready to talk about segregation. We're going to talk about integration. And we have to figure out, what did the Lord want of us? What does he want of us? And where did the opposite come from? So let's get back to sharing our screen. And we're going back to Alexander the Great, because I tell you, he was the first Edomite king to rule the world. So let's see what Alexander the Great did here. Where is it? Alexander right here. All right, let's share this. All right, so Alexander the Great, you remember he went around the world conquering. He ruled for 12 years and then he died. But when Alexander conquered, there's something that he did. Watch this. It says Alexander's army's mass weddings history. Mass weddings. Okay? The mass weddings of Alexander the Great's army, known as the Susa weddings, were a significant event in ancient history. Held in 324 BCE, so that's before Christ, these weddings aimed to blend Greek and Persian cultures and secure loyalty among Alexander's diverse subjects. The event involved approximately 80 to 100 weddings where Macedonian officers married Persian noblewomen. Now you got to remember, Alexander comes from Macedonia, okay? So he's taking Edomites and he's marrying them to the Persians. He defeated the Persians. The Persians were in power. They ruled the world when Alexander came on the scene, okay? So now what he does is he takes his men and he marries them to the Persian women. Now, if you look at Numbers 1 and 18, whatever your father is, that's what you are. So these children could come out looking like the Persians, but they're truly Edomites. All right? Let's read that again. Let's start where right here where it says, where Macedonian officers married Persian noblewomen, symbolizing the unification of the two cultures under Alexander's rule. The weddings were lavishly arranged, reflecting the grandeur of Alexander's empire, and were intended to solidify the loyalty of both Macedonian, and Persian subjects. However, the long-term success of this policy was mixed, as many other marriages ended in divorce, and the legacy of these unions was not preserved after Alexander's death. See, the Persian women, not all of them stayed. Not all of them wanted to be with these Edomites. You see what I'm saying? So what we're seeing is, as a tactic for the Edomites to rule, they were coming in marrying the women of the lands that they conquered. And they didn't marry just any women. Their soldiers, they had to marry the noble women, the ruler's daughters, the ruler's nieces. You see what I'm saying? This is where interracial marriage is coming from. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's go to now First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41. So let me stop sharing this. We're going to go further and show you what these so-called Greeks did. First Maccabees. I hope I will share my screen on that. I'm not sure. All right, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. First Maccabees. Ah, that's why I didn't find Arthur. They kicked me out. Thank you. Let's do this. Let's do this. Da, 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 da. Think we can get there now. Let's see. There we go. There we go. All right. Told you chapter 1, verse 41. All right, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. All right, so here we go. So now we talked about Alexander the Great. Alexander died. 4 kings under him, 4 generals under him took over rulership and split his kingdom into 4 pieces. Those generals had children, and their children ruled. Where there was a wicked ruler by the name of Antiochus who came and really persecuted the Israelites. So let's read what Antiochus does here. So verse 41, it says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. What did he want? All to be one people. You've heard of the melting pot. You've heard of America, the melting pot, and people are so proud of it. This comes from the Grecians. It doesn't come from God. Let's keep reading. Verse 42, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. So what happened in America? They came here, they sat down, they wrote a constitution. Now they claim it's based on the Bible. Well, if it's based on the Bible, why don't you just keep the Bible? You can't base it on the Bible. You either have the word of God or you don't. You see what I'm saying? See, it was Alexander's custom that he would take on some of the culture of the countries that he conquered. And that's all America did. When they came over here, they found Israelites. So they took on some of the customs. All right? So that, they're always talking about compromise. As an Israelite, you can't compromise. You're either for the Most High or you're wicked. And there's no in between. Let's keep reading. Let's go now to Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 8. Now let's see what the Lord has to say. We see what the wicked, what the evil, because they're called the border of wickedness in the book of Malachi. So we see what the wicked do. Now let's see what the Most High instructs us to do. We were in John before. Let's get back in there. Okay. I told you we're going to Deuteronomy 32, I think. And let's go down to verse 8. So Antiochus wanted everybody to become one people. Let's see what the Most High wants. Verse 8, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance. So each nation got their own land, right? When he separated the sons of Adam, what did he do? The Most High separated the sons of Adam. So we're not supposed to put back together what God separates. Watch this. He set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. See, we were always intended to rule over them. Their bounds are set according to us. See, we're going to be assigned when we get in the kingdom. Those of us that make it, we're going to be assigned different areas of rulership. Let's further this thought process. Let's go back to the Apocrypha. Going back to Second Ezra, okay? So we've established that the Most High separated the people. We're going to talk about marriage in a second too. Since Alexander the Great wanted to go in and marry his men amongst our people, well, amongst the Persians in that case, but he did the same thing every place he went. He's doing the same thing today. Every commercial you see almost, if it's not homosexuality, it's interracial marriage, interracial couples. Now, you have to be careful with that because you can't go by skin color, but what they are depicting is all people being one. Okay? So let's go ahead now. Second Ezra. Where do I want to go? Second Ezra, chapter 6. All right, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. So Antiochus wanted one people. Alexander the Great wanted one people. The Most High separated the people, gave them their own land. And so let's see now how this works out. Let's go to verse 56. So we talked about the sons of Adam being separated. We're not going to go back and read all of this. I just want to get to the crux of it in verse 56. As for the other people, the people outside of it being an Israelite, which also come of Adam. Remember, the Lord separated the sons of Adam. Thou hast said, thou being the Most High, thou hast said that they are nothing. Who is nothing? All of the people outside of Israel. That's how the Most High thinks of them. Thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle. Now, look, so you're talking to your brother or your sister, you laugh and some spit comes out of your mouth. You apologize. Why? Because something that's worthless, something that carries bacteria, something that could transmit disease, that's what you got onto your brother or sister. So you apologize. And once you apologize, then they feel okay to wipe it off. You see what I'm saying? That's what the Most High thinks of these other nations. But be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. So if I'm drinking this coffee and a drop falls out, I haven't lost anything. That's how worthless they are to the Most High. He only loves Israel. He only loves Israel. Okay? So that was one of the hardest concepts for me to get when I came into the truth because the church had told us that God loves everyone. But if God loves everyone, how come he said he hates Esau? So you can't get around it. Malachi chapter 1, he hates Esau. Romans 9 and 13, he reiterates that he hates Esau. In these scriptures right here, he doesn't, in 2nd Ezra chapter 16, 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 56, he doesn't say he hates the other nation. He says he doesn't care anything about them. I'm just trying to lay it out for you. Okay, we're going to go now to Nehemiah, okay? We need to talk about marriage real quick. Because what I'm trying to show you is that the intermingling doesn't come from God. Separatism. We have a God who is a separatist. He says, come from amongst them and be ye separate. That's in 2 Corinthians. You got to stop believing your pastors. They're a liar. Ain't no truth in them. Second Ezra. That's why I got to stop sharing the screen. You have to read this book for yourself and to get around like-minded people. Where was I going? Nehemiah. I said second Ezra. I'm going to Nehemiah. I'm going to Nehemiah chapter 13. Watch this. We're not going to go through the list of all the nations and all that. We're getting to the crux of what the Most High had to say. Now, if he says he doesn't care about these people, and there's one nation that he absolutely hates, why would you be intermarrying with them? Let's go to verse 27. Watch this. Watch this. Nehemiah 13 and 27. Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil? What evil are the people talking about? Let's read that again. Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil? To transgress against our God? Transgress, that means to sin. So should we listen to you and sin against our God? Well, what would be the sin? Watch this. Last 4 words of this verse. In marrying strange wives. That's a sin. You can't get around it. Mark that one down and go to it. Every time you think about, women call it swirling, men just chasing tail. Well, if you chase tail, chase some Israelite tail. And marry those women. Take care of them. Raise children. Build houses. Grow gardens. Where do I want to go now? So I want to take you to a couple of books. So we've established about, what do they call it? We have segregation and integration. We have established integration is wrong. And what I want to do now is show you what happens every time we come together. Okay? We can't come together. Esau rules the world right now. Esau does not love you. So let's look at some stuff. Trying to see. Let me stop sharing the screen again. And let's go to nope, I don't want to do that. I showed you the medieval 3-part earth. I showed you Alexander's army. Oh, let me show you this right quick. Did we read about the Roman eagle? Okay, I want to show you the dragon, okay? We were in Revelation chapter 16 and we talked about the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. And I told you the dragon was wrong. The beast is pretty much a mindset to rule over Israel. And you'll see it all the way back in Daniel 7. Each one of these beast nations that got in power, they came and they took the Israelites captive. Now, that was because of our wickedness, and the Lord allowed that to happen. Okay? And I told you that the false prophet, chief amongst them would be, well, I didn't tell you this, but chief amongst them would be Christianity and Islam. If you go into Deuteronomy 28, it talks about how you're going to worship gods that you did not know. It said gods of wood and gods of stone. See, the God of wood, that's that cross. That's that Christianity, how they use the cross. You know what I'm saying? The God of stone, that's Islam. See, Mecca was one of the biggest slave ports ever. And what they used to do with us there, when we came out, they would make us kiss that cobblestone. We had to bow down and kiss the cobblestone, just like the Christians had us to bow down and kiss that cross. So, you know, this dragon of Rome, it started a whole lot of stuff for us. So let's look at old Draco here. Now look at this. Now, I talked to you before about how the cavalry used to carry this thing. And if you look at this first picture on the top left, you see that they're carrying it and the mouth is open. And so wind could actually come in. So you're hearing those horses stomping coming at you. You hear wind coming in and the whistles coming out the back. So this was to put fear in you. And that's why in the book of Revelation talks so much about the dragon, okay? But that's old Draco right there. The Roman Draco. See right there, gold head? All right, all right. I want you to see that because the Bible talks a lot about the dragon. All right, so now I want to take you to see something else. One more thing about Rome, because if we get into Deuteronomy 28, it talks about how our enemy was going to come to the north, from the north, and he's going to come as swift as the eagle. And then when you get into Obadiah, it talks about the nation that's going to be destroyed and compares them to the eagle. So I want to show you something. And keep in mind the video that I showed you where this man confesses who they are. I'm going to go back and stop sharing our screen real quick. All right, now we're going to show you this eagle. Share screen. Eagle, that bird. Not like I have an accent. All right, so here we go. Let's read about this. It says Aquila, Roman. And Aquila was a prominent symbol used in ancient Rome, especially as the standard of a Roman legion. Standard being like a flag. So it was carried on a pole, just like the Draco was. Now, the Draco was carried by the cavalry. The legion standard was the eagle. A legionary known as an aquilifer, the eagle bearer, carried this standard. Each legion carried one eagle. It represents the eagle of Jove. Okay? Now, I'm about to trip you out. I'm going to scroll down. Now, these are the images of the eagle. This says, why has an eagle in the middle? This eagle, when I click on it, is going to look very familiar to you. Why has the eagle become the Roman symbol? Let's look at this. Look at this eagle. I don't know if I can blow that up for you and stay within. I want you to look closely at that eagle. What does it look like? Look at that eagle. Look on the back of your dollar bill and you will see that eagle. This is the Roman eagle with all the red behind it and things like that. And this is the same eagle on the back of your dollar bill. See, America is Rome. Let's back out of this real quick. All right, let's see what we can do here. See if it's going to let us do what I want to. Uh, have some images I want to show you from some books. I don't know if it's going to let me. I should say I'm not sure I know how to do it. Let me see. I wanted to show you something else. It's not letting me get to it. For some reason, I can't get there. Okay, there it goes, entire screen. I got it now. All right, all right, all right. Now we're in business. Now we're in business. Let me make sure it's showing up on my screen. Like I said, I have a 7-second delay. There we go. Had to click on it. Okay, I'm good now. All right, here we go. Here we go. Watch this. Watch this. Now, I was talking to you about the dollar bill. Let's look at it. So, look, I was going to draw this up, and the Lord's just good. I was out there on Facebook. Somebody already had this, so I just took a screenshot of it. But if you look right here on the left, it says first captivity. Remember, we built pyramids in Egypt. We built pyramids here in the US. But right now, we're talking about this eagle to the right. And this person had put on here last captivity, which is correct. That's what Daniel chapter 7 has. Now, you remember with Egypt, it did not say that Egypt was a beast. What Egypt represented was slavery to us, right? The word Egypt means captivity or bondage. So, what it's saying here, what Esau is depicting, is that he was going to enslave the Israelites in as the Roman eagle. America is that eagle. You see what I'm saying? So that being said, let me close that out. Now we're going to get into some of this reading that I want to do. Let me get my book out because I can't see all of this. All right, we're going to go into this book right here, and we're not going to do a whole lot because it's a lot of information. This book says the history of the Jews of Spain and Portugal from the earliest times to their final expulsion. Look at that. The Jews, and if I were to go into it, I'm not going into it tonight. The Jews and the Moors they were expelled from Portugal and Spain. All right. So just want to see the title of that book. You see the author. Just want to give credit. And now I want to go in here and show you the copyright of this book. All right, so this is just inside the cover. And if you look down here in red, I wrote it out. There's a Roman numeral here. All right, so there's a Roman numeral at the bottom. It says, I got it down here as MDCCCXL That comes out to 1848 is the copyright, okay? So these old books have a lot of good information in it. So now let's get to, I think it's page 6 where I want to start. Let me check. Check. I'll put some notes down here for this book so we can get to what we wanted to real quick. Page 6 is going to spell out a few things for you. It should be page 6. Oh, yeah, this is page 6. Let's see. Can we expand this some? 75%? We don't want to go that big. Let's do this again. And let's go to 25%. Oh, yeah, I think we can read it there. All right, so you notice I put right here 70 AD out to the side, and it says, this is page 6 of the book that I just showed you, The History of the Jews of Spain and Portugal. And it reads like this. It says, later writers assumed the great influx to have taken place after the destruction of the Second Temple. See, the Second Temple, the destruction of the Second Temple, that's talking about 70 AD, which Christ talked about in the book of Matthew and the book of Luke, okay? One says, after Titus, the son of Vespasian, subjected Judea, many of those that could escape from the swords of the Roman legions, we read about the Roman legions, or the flames that reduced the beautiful Jerusalem to ashes, fled seeking asylum, some in the east, some in Babylon, and some in Egypt. Egypt being Africa. Now look, we didn't just run to one place. Christ told us to flee to the mountains. Mountains don't just mean the landmass. Mountains can mean nations, okay? So you see, that's exactly what we did. And the families of the greatest consideration were brought to Spain, among whom were the remnants of Benjamin and Judah, descendants of the house of David. So a lot of us were taken captive and taken to Spain, okay? Let's keep reading. We go down to the bottom here, and it says, I'm actually going to pull the book out so I can see page 6, and I'll read it to you. I have the physical copy in my hand. And if you look at the next paragraph, it says, at this period, many went to Merida, for the historian of that city states that they always made their residence in the best towns of the state, and from the general endeavors to assist each other. Those expatriated from Jerusalem after the second destruction, being destitute, came to seek their brethren who had long resided in that city. So, what it's saying is, we already had brethren up there, and they had already established themselves because they worked hard with their own hands and they lived in the best places in the city. In other words, our people were successful. And so we were in contact with those people. We knew where they were. And so when we fled and we were destitute and we went into Spain, we looked those people up. Okay. And if you look at the next paragraph, it says that this happened that there were many of us up there 65 years before the Christian era. Okay. So before Christianity existed, we were there. All right. So now I want to take you to, and what I'm showing you is we're mingling because I'm getting ready to show you what happens after we get into these places. And we ran to get away from these Romans, but we ran to the Romans. And if you didn't understand what the 10 horns were, you didn't realize you did that. Okay, we didn't all go to Africa. All right, so let's close this out real quick, and let's go to what page is this? Page 21. Yeah, that's a good one. I want to hit 13 and 21, but we got 21 up, so let's get it. Let's get it. All right. And you could probably see it without me even expanding it, but I'm going to go ahead and expand it a little bit. And right here where I have it underlined. As the new king was obliged to take the prescribed oath and to order all unconverted Jews to be expelled from the kingdom, the decree was rigidly executed. Some went to Africa. And see, this was around the year, if you look down here, 680. Okay? So we're still going into Africa. We're leaving Europe, going into Africa. And you might remember in the book of Acts, Aquila and Priscilla come from Rome because Jews were expelled from Rome. So the same thing that they were doing back there as Romans, they did later as Spaniards. They were the same people. We didn't necessarily know that. You see what I'm saying? Now we have our brothers from south of the Rio Grande being shipped out of here and taken to, they're telling us South America. We don't know where they're taking them. Do you see what I'm saying? Same thing's happening. Let's go now to, I think it's going to be page 13. Let's see. That blue tab. Let me find the blue tab. Well, let me expand it. Oh, okay. I want to stay in 22. Oh, yeah. I want to read some of this to you. So I want to show you what happens when we integrate it. See, I got some stuff underlined right there. So this is page 22. We'll get 13 in a minute. 13 is just another one showing that we went into Africa. So the first line, it says the 12th Council of Toledo at the top of the page, okay? Now, the first line, it says that Jews shall not celebrate the Passover as a custom, nor practice circumcision, nor dissuade any from the Christian faith. These are laws that were written in Portugal and Spain, okay? So let's read that again. That Jews shall not celebrate the Passover. So they're telling us that we cannot keep our feast days, nor practice circumcision. We can't circumcise our children. You remember in the book of Maccabees, where when they found that our women did it after they told us not to, they would kill the children and hang the dead bodies around our women's neck. And then they would come back and kill the women after a few days. Nor dissuade anyone from the Christian faith. So, like, we go out teaching on the streets now, like I'm teaching right now, they would kill me for that. They would take my children for that. Let's keep reading. That Jews shall not presume to observe the Sabbath or any festival of their religion. We can't keep our feast days. You see this? Let's keep reading. That Jews shall not work on the Lord's day. Now they want to institute Sunday worship. Let's read that again. That Jews shall not work on the Lord's day, nor on other specified days. So we have to keep their holidays. We have to keep Sunday worship, but we can't keep the Sabbath. Keep reading. That's why now we have what they call weekends. See, they decided because we were so numerous when they came over here that they were going to allow there to be Saturday rest, but there was also going to be Sunday rest. And then they would dissuade us from keeping the Saturday rest. And those of us that were slaves, we had to go worship on Sunday. Watch this. That Jews shall make no distinction in food. This is what happens when we come together, when we integrate. They tell us we cannot keep our laws. We cannot serve our God. That Jews shall no longer marry near relations. In other words, now they want us to intermarry with them. That Jews shall not dare to defend their religion to the disparagement of ours. So they're making distinction between the Jew and them, even though we're in the same land. And see, they say they have their own religion. Y'all got to catch this. Let's keep reading. This last one, that Jews shall not read books abhorred by the Christian faith. So if the books prove that what they were teaching were lies, we weren't even allowed to read them. See, y'all got to catch this. This stuff didn't just start, and this stuff that you're about to see. Now we're talking about Jacob's trouble. I'm saying Jacob's trouble has been here. They're taking our children. They're putting us to death. And when they take your children, they put them in, they enslave them. And these are pedophiles. All right, let's get the next slide. Let's get the next slide. Let's see what this one is. I think it's 13. There we go, page 13. Let's get there. Let's get there. Let's get there. Because I want to keep reiterating that we went into Africa. Okay? Because the question is, why do you say that you are an Israelite? Because we fled into Africa. And Joel chapter 3, verse 4 and 5 tells us that the Africans and the Arabs were selling us to the white man. That's why. All right, here we go. Here we go. I'm going to read this to y'all. It says, nevertheless, Sisbut imprisoned many of the most wealthy and sanctioned the murder of those who would not embrace Christianity. This is how you became a Christian. See, this is why grandmama now pushed Christianity, because their parents pushed it on them. Because if they didn't, their children would be taken away. If they didn't, they would be put to death. Let's read that again. Nevertheless, Sisbut imprisoned many of the most wealthy and sanctioned the murder of those who would not embrace Christianity. So what it's telling you is there were many of us who did not go for it, even to the point of death. Keep reading. Numbers abandoned all they possessed to preserve their faith. Numbers means there was the majority of us. We left everything we had to keep serving the Most High and immigrated to that part of Gaul occupied by the Franks. Now, see, I showed you that the Franks were also part of the 10 horns. So we're running, but we're still running to Rome and don't realize it. You see what's going on here? The only place we kind of had rest, supposedly, was in Africa. But that was only after we established kingdoms and you had to get past the Arabs. And then once we got into our kingdoms that we had in West Africa, the problem was we intermarried. And what were these heathens doing? Taking our children and putting them on boats. shipping them over here to America, shipping them to Europe. See, this is why you can't intermarry. You can't trust these people. And immigrated to that part of Gaul occupied by the Franks. Others passed over to Africa. Okay? We kept going to lands that were actually the Roman. Once the Romans came out of the Caucasus Mountains, they were calling themselves things that we didn't realize who they were. They even started speaking different languages. They split up by different tribes. And when I say tribes, I don't mean their original tribes. Okay? They were taking on wherever they went, whatever land they went into, they took on the customs of those people to a degree. They took on their language and they said they were those people. And that's how they hid. And then they would eventually take over the rulership and then they would start expelling us. All right, let's see what this one is right here before we get into that 1491. The 1491 is important for tonight. What page is this? Let's see what we got here. This is page 11, looks like. All right, let's see if I can see this. Okay, I got it on page 11. Oh, this is what I want you to see on here. Look at the center of the page. You see it says Roman eagles? I want you to see that because in Deuteronomy and Obadiah, it talks about the eagle. It compares the Idumea or Esau to the eagle in Obadiah that's going to be destroyed. In Deuteronomy, when it talks about our enemy that was going to come against us and not esteem our old highly, not esteem our women highly, and that ended up taking us into captivity, that enemy was caught. It said that they came as swift as eagles. Okay. And right down here, I just want to show you that and we're not going to do it tonight, but I can show you over and over where the Jews and the Moors are listed together. We got expelled together. The Moors came up, and when they took power, they liberated us. Those were our people, okay? It says right here, as we learn, they returned to Judaism on the Moors conquering the islands. So when the Moors came in, we were able to practice serving our God again, okay? Because those were our people. They came in to liberate us. All right, so let's get to a different book. What time do we have? 9:03. Hey, this is not going to take long. Going a little bit over an hour, but this is not going to take long, okay? This next book is called 1491. It's really a play on words. Charles C. Mann is the author. It's really a play on words because it's telling you leading up to 1492 when Christopher Columbus came over here. And there's something else that happened in 1492. All of the Jews were expelled from Spain in 1492. That's why we didn't mind getting on those ships and coming over here with Christopher Columbus. But Charles Mann wrote this book. And I just want to show you something in here. We're going to go to I'm going to start off in page, I think it's 66. Let me see if that's right. Some page, no. Oh, I'm way off. 108. 108. Okay, I'm going to read this to you. I know you can't see it good. All right. So where I first underlined right here, this is talking about a conquistador named De Soto, okay? It says, after De Soto left, no Europeans visited this part of the Mississippi Valley for more than a century. Okay, let me explain to you what's going on. I don't want to read all the way up. But basically what happened was De Soto came over and they brought pigs with them. The pigs were not native to the Americas. The Europeans ate pigs. So they came over here and they released the pigs west of the Mississippi River. Okay? That's what it's talking about, what De Soto did. Now, you got to keep in mind, there were no pigs over there already. And the Most High told us that this animal is unclean to us. And he said, don't even touch the dead carcass. And this was not an accident that these pigs got released over there. See, they want you to think that the Aztecs were only in Central America. That's not true. The Aztecs ruled all the way up into Canada. They had a vast, vast, vast land, and they were numerous in people. But I'm going to show you what happened to them. It says after De Soto left, no Europeans visited this part of the Mississippi Valley for more than a century. This is not a coincidence. So the Spanish come over. They're part of the Ten Horns of Rome. They lead at first, and they're going through and they're discovering this land for themselves. Well, to conquer it, the people are too numerous. So what do? They release pigs. Watch this. Early in 1682, white people appeared again, this time Frenchmen in canoes. So now the white people come back in 1682. And this is like a century and a half after De Soto has released the pigs, okay, to the west of the Mississippi. So let's go down to this part right here. You can't see it real good. I'm going to read it to you. It says, when the French came in and the record opened up again, it was a transformed reality. A civilization crumbled. The question is, how did this happen? Okay, this is what I was telling you about. Now I'm going to keep reading the next paragraph. Today, most historians and anthropologists believe the culprit was disease. In the view of Raminovsky and Patricia Galloway, an anthropologist at the University of Texas, the source of contagion was very likely not De Soto's army, but his ambulatory meat locker. See, this ambulatory meat locker, that means it was mobile, okay? His 300 pigs. De Soto's company was too small to be an effective biological weapon. Listen to what they're calling this. The army was not the biological weapon. Sicknesses like measles and smallpox would have burned through his 600 men long before they reached the Mississippi, but that would not have been true for his pigs. See, pigs carry measles and smallpox. Let's go over to the next page. Watch this. Go ahead and expand this if we can. All right, that should help you see it. So watch this right here, where I have it underlined. When humans and domesticated animals share quarters, they are constantly exposed to each other's microbes. Other time, Over time, mutation lets animal diseases jump to people. Avian influenza becomes human influenza. Talking about the flu. This is where we got the flu from. Okay? Bovine rinderpest becomes human measles. This is where we got measles from. Horsepox becomes human smallpox. We got smallpox from pig. They set the pig out there on purpose. They also gave us blankets with smallpox in it so that we take it back to our cities and expose our people to it. Whole cities, whole empires were destroyed by disease. This is how they conquered us. Let's keep reading right here. By contrast, swine, mainstays of European agriculture. See, they were used to swine. A pig was a mainstay of their agriculture. This is what they ate. Let's keep reading. By contrast, swine, mainstays of European agriculture, transmit anthrax, brucellosis, leptospirosis, trichinosis, and tuberculosis. See, TBs come from pigs. Pigs breed exuberantly and can pass diseases to deer and turkeys. See, you think when you're eating out there and you say, we're going to go out to the wild, we're going to get us some clean animals. They're not clean anymore. See, the Romans, the Americans, they have polluted even our wild animals by setting this giant rodent loose in our forests. All right, let's read that again. Pigs breed exuberantly and can pass diseases to deer and turkeys, which then can infect people. See, when you eat this stuff, Only a few of DeSoto's pigs would have had to wander off to contaminate the forest. It didn't even take the full 300, just a few of them. It can contaminate an entire forest. And if I were to read further in this, it would tell you that the defeat of nations was usually not due to the skills of the generals, as they would have you to believe, but it was due to diseases. Okay. Let me see. Oh, I know what. I want to show you something. Got to show you one last thing. So I'm showing you a wild boar right here. And underneath this wild boar, this is the type of brushes we used to wear our hair short and we wanted waves, and we would look for boar bristle brushes. And you got to be careful of these when you go into a store. When you go into a store to the so-called African American section, look on the brush. If it says boar bristle, stay away from it. Remember, you're not supposed to touch the dead carcass of this animal. See, they're doing everything they can to put disease into your home. See, the flu that you saw in there, influenza, that includes COVID and all of it. This is how a lot of this stuff spreads. When COVID happened, there were a bunch of meat factories that closed in America. And every single person in those factories got sick. But you notice in our meat factories, we don't have one type of meat. The swine is in there too. So we're eating abominable things here, and we have to pray over our food. We have to back off the meat a little bit sometimes and get us some herbs in our body. We have to fast. Christ told us there was going to come a time when we must fast, okay? Because your liver and your kidney are supposed to handle toxins. But if you are constantly loading your body with toxins, your liver and your kidney get to the point that they can't handle them. And so fasting takes care of that. So fasting not only has a spiritual aspect, but it also has a physical aspect. Okay. So that being said, what I'm trying to tie together here is anytime that we integrate, it doesn't go well for us because they already have plans in place to destroy us. See, the Roman Empire still exists, and their goal is to rule us. Okay. If you look at Psalms 83, it explains that. But their goal is to rule us. And if you want to ever prosper, you have to separate. Now, we're not going to fully prosper. We're in this captivity, and we're going to be in this captivity until Christ returns. But as a people, that those of us, the 1/3 of us that are going to get out of here, I pray that I'm in that number. We can find a little bit of prosperity in this land. So I just want to say shalom. We plan on being back with you next week. I'm leaving for Tabernacles, Lord willing, tomorrow. And so some of the brothers and sisters are already out there. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm hoping to put pictures out on YouTube and do a couple of lessons out there and record other brothers doing lessons. And so hopefully we'll be seeing y'all throughout the week. Shalom, Israel. Love y'all. Trying to get out of here.